I want there to be more romance and happiness and flirting. I am excited. I like it so far. These characters are crazy. It just seems like a very peaceful time to have lived in. This was a fun read. Definitely recommend it. Welcome to the reading vlog. I have 3 books picked out to read this week, all of which are romance and either new releases or anticipated releases. A couple of these are arcs, so they're not out yet, but will be very soon. And the first of which that I'm reading is on my Kindle, and it is An Academic Affair by Jodi McAlister. This one comes out November 11th, so very soon, probably right around when this video will be posted. I just started this, so I'm only 7% through, which is actually just the prologue. It's from the guy's perspective, and then I know chapter 1 is from the girl's perspective, so I'm curious to see if it's gonna keep flipping back and forth or if it's only the prologue that's from his perspective. This is an academic rivals romance that's going to be a marriage of convenience, fake dating, fake relationship. They are both English professors, or at least trying to be. They're looking for jobs and they find out that this job offers partner hire. So if you get hired, they'll also hire your spouse. And so they end up deciding to get legally married so that they can both get jobs, because it's a very competitive job market in academia. But it's also enemies to lovers, because these two, for 15 years, all of their undergrad, grad school, their first job together, all the way to the present day. We get all of this backstory in the prologue, but they've always been debating during classes, had very heated discussions, didn't get along at all. In the prologue, it's revealed that the guy had a crush on her the whole time, and he actually really looked forward to all those debates and discussions, but he thinks that she hates him, so he never asked her out. He has some secret feelings that he's hiding. They're gonna end up getting married. Presumably, those feelings will come out and a romance will bloom from that. So that's a really fun premise for this story. I am excited to keep reading it. I'm really not far into it at all yet, but loving it so far. Love that we got kind of the backstory before heading into their rivalship in the present day. I also think this is a really cute cover. But I'm gonna get cozy in my reading nook, keep reading, and I'll update you when I have some more thoughts. I am 64% of the way into An Academic Affair, so I am over halfway and I am liking it. It is both from Jonah and Sadie's perspective, so dual perspective. I would say I slightly prefer Jonah's perspective because he seems to be more into her, so there's more romance in his internal monologue, which I enjoy. But Sadie's really funny, so I do like that. I'm also really liking learning about what the job market is like in academia. I think that's a really interesting part of the story. Learning not only how competitive it is to get a job after going through so many years of schooling, but also how they're kind of taken advantage of in their jobs with so much work piled on, and how they need to be unionized in order to have a fair amount of work and have protection in their job. So that's pretty cool. I would say after maybe the 30% mark to where I am now, around 60%, that the story has kind of slowed down. At the beginning, we had a lot of their backstory. We had the whole setup for the marriage of convenience. And now it's more kind of mundane parts of their life. There's also this conflict, a subplot, not between our two main characters, but it feels very dramatic to me and unnecessary, and I'm not loving that part of the story as much. And it's really focused on that right now. It just has a lot of sad undertones, and I want there to be more romance and happiness and flirting, but it's still kind of building up to that. The book is covering a lot of time. It started in November, and I think I'm now in April. Yep, April. So I would think it would feel faster paced, because the months are going by, but it feels slower, so that's interesting. I'm hoping it'll pick back up. I would think it would as it gets closer to the end, but I really want more romance. I want more yearning, and we kind of get that from him, but I want her to do that too. That other subplot though, the other conflict, is really kind of impeding that for her. So hopefully that'll get resolved. So I'm gonna keep reading, hopefully finish the book today, and I will let you know what I think once I'm done. Jonah's so sweet. You can just tell he really cares about her. Right now, in the trope of enemies to friends to lovers, I'd say we're still in the progression from enemies to friends. Considering we're 65% into the book, that's definitely slow, I'd say, but hopefully the payoff will be good. I finished reading An Academic Affair and I ended up rating it 3 stars. I thought Jonah's chapters were really sweet. He was crushing on her for so long and you could tell he really likes Sadie, cares about her, but the relationship kind of felt one-sided, and the subplot, the other little conflict that I didn't really like, ended up being pretty much the main plot of the story, and so I didn't like that it didn't focus as much on the romance. I would expect it to focus more on the romance, but our main female character was just very sad throughout the whole story instead of focused on developing this relationship. It also felt very slow-paced even though a lot of time was passing in the story. I did really like though the focus on academia and learning about the challenges in that job market. I thought that them being academic rivals and being so competitive made a lot of sense in that setting because there's so few jobs available in that market, and so it makes sense that they're kind of pitted against each other whether they want to be or not. So that part of the story I really liked, but as a romance it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't bad, I just didn't love it. But that brings me to the next book, which is If It Makes You Happy by Olivia. I started this yesterday after finishing An Academic Affair, and I'm already 100 pages into it, so I'm liking this one so far. It's kind of a longer romance. It's over 500 pages, but this is a perfect one to be reading in November. It's a small town romance set in the fall in the 1990s in Vermont. We have Michelle, who's taking over her mom's bed and breakfast very reluctantly. It's not really her personality type to do so, so it's a lot of adjusting for her to get used to being in this small town since she is a city girl from Seattle. And then there's Cliff, who is the local baker. He's also a single dad with 2 young girls, and he's her next door neighbor. So it's already really cute seeing kind of the grumpy sunshine dynamic of their relationship. He's really sweet. She's not the best at making friends, but reluctantly reaching out for help, and the fall vibes in this are great. So I'm gonna keep reading and I will update you as I get further into the book. I'm about 280 pages into If It Makes You Happy, so a little bit over halfway, and I'm still loving the book so far. The fall vibes are great. It's very festive. There are all these holidays and activities and festivals going on in the book, and everything is so descriptive, like the crunching of leaves on the ground, the trees changing colors. Even the bakery items in this book are described so well, like baklava, cinnamon rolls, all these different pastries that are making me so hungry while reading this book. I love the romance too. I think that Cliff and Michelle balance each other out very well. I also am really enjoying the dynamic of Cliff being a single dad and kind of seeing how Michelle interacts with his kids, because she's not their mom, but she's kind of becoming another authority figure for them who they can go to for advice or spend time with, and that's sweet to see. There's also a dog in this book, and I love my dog, so I love the inclusion of this very sweet dog. He's a cute companion, and Michelle kind of humanizes him, so she says what it looks like the dog is thinking and responds to him, and they kind of have like conversations, which is cute. I think most of all, I love the setting of this book. I love that it's set in the 90s, before phones, or at least before cell phones. They have landlines, so they'll wait at the phone for calls, but you're not constantly on your phone. When you're out and about, you don't have a phone with you. If you want to talk to a friend, you don't post something on social media, you go and call them. The combination of that with the small town vibes just seems like such a simpler time. So peaceful, so much joy. All the neighbors are so friendly. People are always saying hello and reaching out and offering to help each other. It just seems like a very peaceful time to have lived in. It's kind of sad nowadays, just everyone having phones. Even if you personally use your phone or social media less, society as a whole, just everyone has a phone. I was talking with my husband about like taking a flight somewhere to travel, and people used to just sit on the plane and either read, or you would just talk to the stranger next to you for your entire flight for hours and hours and just get to know someone new. And I feel like no one does that anymore. I feel like everyone has headphones in. People just keep to themselves more nowadays, which is just kind of sad. So I really like the community in this book. The combination of where it's set, but also the time period. I think the characters in this book have very realistic flaws. So that keeps it relatable. It keeps the book interesting, but it's also just a very calm, cozy read. So I'm loving it. I have no complaints so far. I still have half the book to get through, but there's been a few months, I think, at least 2 months that have passed in the book. And the book is separated by each month. So November 1997 is the section that I'm in right now. They just had Halloween and they're preparing for Thanksgiving. Another really random thing that I love about this book, the actual physical book itself, is the pages in this book are so soft. I don't know why that is, but it's so satisfying to flip these pages. This also to me does not look like a 500-page book. It feels a lot smaller, so I feel like it's just easy to get through. And if I haven't mentioned it already, I absolutely love the artwork on the cover of this book. I love fall. It's early November right now, so perfect time to read this. I am exactly in the part of the book that aligns with the current season. But it did snow outside for the first time this year today. And it's just making me aware of how quickly winter is going to be here. Fall is my favorite season, but winter is coming up very quickly. I need to block out the snow. I'm not ready for winter yet. I want it to be fall. Back to reading. know know I said I wanted to ignore the snow and the fact that it's starting to feel like winter, but I changed my mind. I put up the Christmas tree yesterday and I'm leaning into the festivities. I was inspired by the snow. I'm embracing it. It's been in the 30s, so it's very cold, but the snow is pretty. It did feel like time to put up the Christmas tree. Also yesterday, I finished If It Makes You Happy. I rated this 4.5 stars. This was such a fun, cozy read. I absolutely loved the setting, both it being in a small town, being set during the fall, but also being set during the 90s. I love that. I know I've talked about how much I enjoyed that a lot. The storyline itself was predictable, but it was very sweet. I had a fun time. I really enjoyed the dynamics with their whole community in this book in Copper Run, Vermont. Everyone was so friendly. I loved Michelle getting to know Cliff's kids. I loved the dog. So this was a fun read. Definitely recommend it. That brings me to the third book of this reading vlog, Woman Down by Colleen Hoover. I was sent an early copy of this from the publisher, so it doesn't come out until January 13th. So a couple months away, and then this will be released. I'm only 25 pages in so far, but I am enjoying it. Woman Down is a thriller. There is romance, but it has a lot of creepy, suspenseful undertones. This is actually based on a short story that Colleen wrote years ago, I think in 2020, called Saint. I never read that, but this book is kind of an extended version of that. She changed some of the plot points, the characters, added things in. So for people who wanted more from that story, or if you've never read it and you just want something new, then that's what's in Woman Down. It is about a writer who is facing a lot of backlash online for a movie adaptation of her book that didn't go as readers and movie watchers wanted it to. So she's receiving a lot of criticism. She's facing writer's block, and she decides to go on this cabin retreat secluded in the woods to try and get inspiration to write her suspense novel. A detective is going to show up and she's going to start to get to know him. And then the cop that she's writing about in her suspense novel is going to start to mirror the cop that she met in real life. The cop's name is Saint, and that's what the original short story was called. It says Saint starts to take his role in her career a little too seriously. So I imagine there will be some sort of spooky, creepy thriller stuff going on with that. We haven't met the cop yet. I'm only 25 pages in, but it already feels a little creepy, just her being at this secluded cabin in the woods. But I am excited. I like it so far. The writing is great. It feels well written. I can feel the character's emotions, her anxiety, and I'm intrigued to see what's gonna happen next. So I'm gonna go keep reading. I'm halfway through Woman Down now, and so far I'm really liking the thriller aspect of this book, but not the romance as much. There's a lot of suspense in this book. I feel like our main character, Petra, is suspicious of pretty much everyone she interacts with, so it's creating a lot of anxiety. I feel very like on edge with our main character, wondering what's gonna happen because this is a romantic suspense novel. So you're kind of trying to figure out what's gonna go wrong, who could be potentially causing problems. So I do feel like it's very well written from that sense. The romance, I would say, is also well written, but there is a lot of infidelity, and you know that right at the beginning of the romance. It's not on the back of the book, but you know that going into the romance. But yeah, there's a lot of cheating. There are also descriptive spice scenes, and while I don't have an issue with spice, I don't like reading about spice where cheating or an affair is involved, and there's a lot of that in this book, which is making me very uncomfy to read. And that kind of raises the question of, if it's making me uncomfy, isn't that what a thriller is supposed to do? So isn't it doing its job? But I feel like it's different. Like, I feel like the cheating didn't really need to be a part of this story. Maybe. I'm only halfway through. I'm at 162 pages. So a little bit over halfway. Again, it is a good book. I am enjoying it. I'm reading it pretty quickly. But that's just kind of icky. I'm very intrigued to keep reading though. I really want to know what's going to happen in the story. This book is definitely having me keep flipping the pages, wanting to find out what's going on, what the events are going to lead to. There's also a lot of bookception in this book because we're reading a romantic suspense as the reader. It's about a romance suspense author, and then the book's about the lines between fiction and reality blurring. And so our romance suspense author Petra is kind of living out her character's life as well. So there's a lot going on, but it's very interesting. I don't have too much left. This book is less than 300 pages, so we'll see if I can finish this tonight, and then I will give you my final thoughts and review. These characters are crazy. I did stay up and finish reading Woman Down last night. I stayed up way later than I probably should have, but this is a very compelling thriller. It was difficult to put it down. I was hooked reading the entire time, wondering what was going to happen next. I did, although I think this book is very well written, have a major issue with part of it. Just for me personally, I could not get over the infidelity aspect of the book, and that really affected my enjoyment of the romance. And this is a romance and a thriller. So I love the thriller aspect. I just wish there was not cheating involved in the book, but it was kind of critical to the plot, so that would change the story if it wasn't there. But because it bothered me so much, I did rate this 3.5 stars. Reading is subjective. You might love this, you might not have an issue with reading about that. But for me, I just had kind of like a pit in my stomach feeling while reading those intimate scenes that I think otherwise would have been enjoyable. I did have like the uncomfy feeling of, oh, this is a mystery, something scary is gonna happen, I feel anxious, but to have that other uncomfy feeling, just like icky, disturbed by the romance on top of it, I don't think that was the intent, but that is how I felt. I don't read a lot of thrillers. It was fun. I don't know that I'd want to read it all the time because I don't want to have nightmares, but I did like reading this thriller. It kind of reminded me of The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I did like that book. That is another thriller that I've read. Other than the cheating in this book, I thought the storyline was great. I did predict the ending, but it was really fun trying to put the pieces together while reading. Obviously, since you know it's a thriller, you know something isn't gonna be what it seems. And so I had fun trying to figure that out, and I thought the ending was well done, even though I did predict it. Third book of the week, done. That is the last book of this reading vlog. Thank you for watching. If you want to see me read more books, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.